Hi, I'm Thom Tillis, and I'm excited to welcome you to my 2023 Service Academy Information Day. We are honored to have representatives from the Air Force Academy, the Coast Guard Academy, the Merchant Marine Academy, Military Academy at West Point, the Naval Academy, the North Carolina National Guard, and ROTC to discuss post-graduation opportunities for high school students. I'm honored to be a nominating source to the service academies, and I have the opportunity to help young men and women like you who want to serve our country. This is an exciting time for any student who wishes to pursue a selfless career in the armed forces. And I hope you find today's program helpful as you continue your post-high school planning. Thank you for your interest in serving our great nation. I wish you luck as you move into the next chapter. Thanks again, and God bless.
As Katie said, I'm going to go through our process today and then just kind of show you all exactly how the application looks and what you should be expecting when you start your application with our office. First up, who can apply? It's open to second semester high school juniors and above. So that's second semester high school juniors and seniors. Or if you have already done a year in college and you want to reapply, you're able to do that as well. You have to live in North Carolina to get our nomination. Our application window is from March to October 15th this year. That's October 15th, 11:59 p.m. That means at midnight on the 16th, our application is closed. That's a hard deadline. Applicants are able to see the progress of the application. So if one segment of your application is not complete at the deadline, your application will not be accepted. It's your responsibility to make sure your application is complete. Putting it in the mail before the deadline is not good enough. There are almost zero exceptions to this deadline. Typically, we have around 400 students that apply each year, so it is highly competitive. With that in mind, we recommend that you apply to all of your nominating sources, not just one. That means Senator Budd's office this year, as well as your representative in the House of Representatives, and if you're eligible for any of the presidential or vice presidential nominations. So to reach our application, you're going to go to our website. You can see it there in the address bar at the top. It's tillis.senate.gov. You're going to go to the Services tab and hit For Students. That'll take you to this page where you click Academy Nominations. There going to be a bunch of information, but you're going to look for that circled link there for the online application. You'll click on it. It'll bring you to this page. If you have not opened an application before or never been here before, you're going to want to click on that Create an Account button. That'll bring you to pretty standard Create an Account page. If you ever create an account for any other website, you'll go through all this information and then click Create Account at the bottom. It'll send you a link here. Go check your email. Sometimes it might go to your spam or junk folder, so you'll want to check that as well. The email you'll get will be like this. You'll just click on Activate Your Account. So once you've created your account, it'll go to this instructions page. Now, this page is outdated. It'll look different. Don't pay attention to that date there for 2019, obviously. But what you're going to want to do is read all of the instructions. The application is very simple, very easy to do, but if you don't follow the instructions, your application probably will be denied. So make sure you read everything, all the instructions for every part. So once you do all that, you're going to get here. This is your checklist. You're able to check this. It updates in real time once something's uploaded, or once you upload something, it will be checked off. Again, read the instructions though, because we do go through. Look for completed checklists and make sure the documents meet the standards set forth by the instructions. So if something's missing, our biggest thing is letter of recommendations have to be hand signed and have contact information for the person writing the letter. That's our biggest reason for things being rejected. And sometimes people upload them at the very beginning, don't check it till the deadline, and then realize that their application was not complete because their letters did not meet the requirements. So make sure, again, hand signed and have contact information for the writer. If your writer does not want you to upload the letter themselves, they are able to email it to our office or mail it to our office, and we will upload it for you. As long as we've received it, if you don't upload it and your teacher has sent it to us, as long as we've received it by the deadline, and it's in our possession, we'll upload it and it won't count against you. Also, you'll need to do a photo, resume, essay. Essay has no length requirement. We do ask that you keep it under 2 pages or less. There's really no format or anything like that. It's just, why do you want to attend the Service Academy, or why should Senator Tillis nominate you to the Service Academy? So your first step is going to be to complete the questionnaire. The personal info section is pretty self-explanatory, so I won't go over it. Here for preferences, you need to select your first and second preference. Very rarely are we able to consider you for your second preference. With your representatives in Congress, they typically have fewer applicants. That is where they're able to consider you sometimes for multiple nominations to multiple academies. With our office, because of how competitive it is, when you put your first preference, make sure that is the academy that you most want Senator Tillis to nominate you to or consider you for a nomination to. So you'll put those in there. If your first semester, so here we're going to go our academics. This is very important. If your first semester of college, then obviously you won't have an established GPA. So just use your most recent GPA from your senior year. Please pay attention here and follow instructions. It's important to get your school GPA scale correct. We need to know how to tell your GPA is good or not. Obviously, a 3.8 on a 4.0 scale is much better than a 3.8 on a 5.0 scale. So make sure you confirm with your guidance counselor or your school what type of scale you're on with weighted and unweighted, and make sure that you have that in there correctly. Getting this wrong could hurt your application. With the scores, we do super scores. So give us your best segment scores from individual tests. Don't average your segment scores from multiple tests. If you don't wish to report your score for one of the tests, just fill it out as if you have not taken it. Follow the instructions exactly again. We don't need STEM or ELA or writing scores. Don't get creative trying to incorporate them somehow. So that's it for the application. Pretty simple. The biggest rule, again, I can't harp on it enough, follow instructions. As long as you read the instructions and follow them exactly, the application is very simple. You'll do well on it. I'll wrap up with some brief facts about how we interview and nominate. Every year we interview about 30 to 35 candidates per academy. We do that in one day. It's going to be at High Point University, the same as it has been the last 2 years. That information is on our website. So make sure that you kind of have an idea of when that day is, and that you're not, if you are a serious candidate, that you're not planning other trips or anything for that day. Exceptions for virtual are very limited, and it's pretty much to if you are a child of service members that are overseas, or if you're currently at a preparatory academy yourself and cannot get leave in order to come in person. Our interviews are conducted by a board composed of academy alumni or representatives. The board selects 10 nominees per academy, and we submit those to the academy unranked. So we select 10. We say we think these 10 are great choices, and we let the academy make admissions decisions based off that list of 10. And then typically we do have a nomination ceremony with the senator in Charlotte every year for the people who are selected for nominations. Lastly, the biggest piece of advice I can give is to parents is please let your applicant be the driver of this process. We as a staff notice when we only hear from parents and never the applicant, and it reflects poorly on their application. If there are questions, please have your son or daughter contact us and ask them. Our board members are looking for candidates who are motivated for the right reasons to attend these institutions. If the applicant cannot advocate on their own behalf for a nomination, then it's not likely that the board would want to choose them for a service academy. Thank you for coming and listening to me. Katie and I are always available at our offices via phone or through email for questions that if you have them. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. So one thing I did forget to say in the beginning, if you have a question, please go ahead and put it in the chat box. And I will either, if it's a specific to you, I can answer it directly there, or we can address it on the call with everyone. So please feel free to type a question in the chat box. As Scott mentioned, we do the senators. The senator has nomination boards for each of the academies, and they are just absolutely wonderful folks. Some of them are on the call today, and we're really grateful for all of their hard work. And they love meeting with the candidates, and as alum, they know best of what it takes to make it through these academies. So we're so grateful for them. I also just wanted to highlight a couple of items that Scott mentioned. As far as the letters of recommendation being signed, he mentioned that your teachers are able to submit those directly, or your recommenders. If they do, and you wanted to confirm that that the letter included their contact information and the hand signature, please feel free just to send us an email at that the Academy nomination email address. We're happy. We won't reveal the contents of the email of the letter just to maintain the privacy and the confidentiality, but we can tell you if the letter did not meet the requirements as far as having the name and full contact information and this hand signature. So please do that earlier in the process. Don't wait for the last minute, because your emergency is not our emergency. So, your procrastination does not reflect well. So please go ahead and try and get everything in as soon as possible. All right. So again, if you have any questions, please feel free to pop those in the chat box. And our first academy that we're going to hear from today is the United States Air Force Academy, and that is Second Lieutenant Faith White.
Thank you, everyone. Can I at least get a thumbs up or a confirmation that you guys can hear me well? Awesome. Thank you so much. Give me one moment to share my short PowerPoint here for you all. All right. So thank you, everyone, for attending today. My name is Second Lieutenant Faith White, and I am here representing the United States Air Force Academy. So this is just a quick bio about me. That way you know a little bit of where I'm coming from. I did graduate from the Air Force Academy last year in 2022. I graduated with the job of pilot, so I'm currently awaiting pilot training. I studied mathematics while at the Air Force Academy with a minor in Arabic. I am originally from Las Vegas, Nevada. And before we get started on my presentation, I have a short video for everyone to watch. It's about 30 seconds, just to get you a little excited about the Air Force Academy. Maybe.
There's nothing average about the Air Force Academy or those who come here.
It takes more than smarts and good grades.
It takes grit.
It's for the I never quit students, the relentless, persevering, most likely to keep trying until I reach my best students.
Because we will go on to lead others, push boundaries, save lives, and represent American ideals.
If you've got what it takes, prove it.
Okay, so since I only have a limited amount of time, I really want to highlight our application process. And if you have any questions specific to programs at the Air Force Academy, what the Air Force Academy has to offer you, please put those in the chat and we can get those answered. But for now, the application. So here, these are the main 5 points to our application, and I'm going to go into each of these just a little bit further. So first, we have academically competitive. We are looking for those students that excel in the classroom. The Air Force Academy is not for everyone. Classes are going to be decently rigorous. So you taking your grades seriously at the high school level is important. So you can see our average high school GPA among applicants is a 3.85. So kind of take a mental note. Where are you personally falling, excuse me, in comparison to that average. If you're above it, great. And that's on a 4.0 scale, I would like to emphasize. If you are above it, great. If you're a little below, you know where you need to start working on it. Below that is our average SAT and ACT scores. We also super score, which I know was mentioned earlier, but we will only take your highest scores. So we like to tell students, take those standardized tests as early and as often as possible. That gives you more attempts to get the highest score that you can. The next aspect to our application is you must be physically qualified and medically qualified. So for physically qualified, you will take a candidate fitness assessment that consists of a basketball throw, cadence pull-ups, or a flex arm hang if you are a female, a shuttle run, crunches, push-ups, and a 1 mile run. A lot of our students we see that are applying are also athletes, and they say, oh, well, I run track, so a 1 mile run, that's going to be easy, no worries. But the thing is they don't practice the whole fitness assessment as it is tested. So, running a 1 mile event is going to feel a lot different after you've done some pull-ups, a shuttle run, crunches, push-ups. So definitely practice this assessment before you test. That way you know exactly how you're going to perform and you're able to see which events you need to maybe practice a little more than others. Next, medically qualified. That is completed by the Department of Defense Medical Evaluation Review Board. We call them DODMER for short because you can tell it's a pretty long acronym. So what that means is you will go through kind of a standard physical, much similar to what you would do for your high school sports at your school. Hearing test, eye exam, general physical, just to ensure that you are fit to serve in the military. Oops. Okay. Character and leadership. This is probably one of the larger points of emphasis for you all. We want students that are going to actively improve their personal character and those leadership skills, right? Coming to a military academy or ROTC or anything like that, you are basically training to become our nation's next leaders. So that doesn't just miraculously happen when you graduate from a military academy or when you commission into whatever branch of service. It starts now. So this list is some of the things that you can participate in to start working on that now. Take a mental note. What kinds of things on this list do you participate in? Maybe which ones are available at your high school in your area. And also think about what events do I currently participate in now outside of this list maybe, and think, how can I step up and be a leader, right? You don't need to have a title. You don't need to participate in every single thing on this slide, right? Think of what you're currently participating in now and how you can just step up. You might not be the team captain on your sports team, but how can you assist your coach? How can you assist your team captain? Maybe you can conduct training sessions on the weekend, right? You don't need to have a title to be a leader. So keep that in mind and start writing it all down now. Part of your application process is going to be to submit a resume type thing with all these organizations that you participate in, basically a list of everything you've ever done from freshman year to when you're applying. So start piling up that list now. That way you save some time when you start your application. Lastly, here's nominations. I'm not going to talk about this too much because we just did, but I will say it is a separate application, right? And if you don't get that separate application in on time, you are not able to be, you won't receive an appointment from a military academy, right? It's required by law. So make sure you're paying attention to those deadlines. And then this is just a quick little breakdown to give you guys some hope and maybe motivation to continue your application. So if you were to Google really quickly, what is the acceptance rate for the Air Force Academy? It would probably spit out a number around 10 to 13%, right? That doesn't sound like a lot, really. But where that number comes from is that total number of applicants, that 11,599 versus the total number of cadets in the class. So the 1,113 there at the bottom. However, between our applicants and our candidate pool, we lose a couple hundred applicants. That's just because they're not medically qualified, they're not academically qualified, whatever the case. So we lose a couple hundred. Then, in between the candidate pool and our qualified candidates, you can see that we lost several thousand students. And this is mainly because they just did not finish their application, whether they weren't keeping track of deadlines, or they decided, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, or I don't think I'm good enough, right? Oh, my test scores aren't what I want them to be, or I don't feel like I did that good on my fitness test. Whatever reason they decided not to finish their application, they didn't, right? So if you look at our total number of qualified candidates that finished their application versus cadets we took in 2026 for the class of 2026, that's closer to a 30% acceptance rate, right? So we like to tell our applicants, complete to compete. Whatever feelings of doubt, ignore it. Just finish your application. You never know. And you're just bettering your odds, right? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And tying up my portion, if you don't receive an appointment that first time around, you may be offered a slot at our preparatory school, or you may be offered a Falcon Foundation scholarship. Now, what these are, the best way I can explain it briefly is it's kind of like a 5-year route instead of a 4-year route. You're a really good applicant, but maybe you need to focus more on your math, science, and English before you enter into your first year of college. Or maybe you need to work on your physical fitness, or maybe you were a prior enlisted person and you need a little more time to get back into school because it's been a while. So these are things that the Air Force Academy can offer you. Your application, your original application into the Air Force Academy doubles as your preparatory school application and your Falcon Foundation scholarship application. It's all just one application for pretty much 3 different things. So if attending the Air Force Academy is something that you desire strongly and you're offered either a prep school slot or a Falcon Foundation scholarship, I highly recommend you take it. And those students go on to be the most well-prepared cadets that we have. So it's nothing bad. You shouldn't feel ashamed if you're offered this. It's actually quite an honor. And it just shows that the Air Force Academy really wants you. So that is all I have about our application. You would be able to get started at academyadmissions.com. You can apply there. Our application opened March 1st. So if you are a junior in high school, you're able to start your application today. And if you are also a junior, we have a summer seminar program that takes place between your junior and senior year. That application opens December 1st. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And one thing just to add on is when we're processing the applications and we're looking through, our office does check to make sure that you do have an active application with the academy that you are applying for. So as Lieutenant White mentioned, like, please make sure that you have opened your application with the academy as well as the senator's office and all your other nominating offices, because the application does not translate to the other offices. It is all separate processes. So that is something that we check, and we very rarely interview students who have not opened up an application and are not an official candidate with the academy. All right, so I am compiling the questions that I'm getting on the chat, and I am going to, I'll go through those at the end. But next up, we are going to hear from Lieutenant Matt McAllister with the United States Coast Guard Academy. Lieutenant McAllister, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, thank you, Katie. Can everybody hear me okay? Awesome. Well, first and foremost, I just want to say thank you to Senator Tillis for the opportunity to speak today. Thank you, Katie, for setting this all up. You're doing an awesome job emceeing. Give me one moment. I'm going to share my presentation with you all. All right, can everybody see the beautiful Coast Guard Academy campus that we've got in front of you?
I am seeing that you are starting to share your content, so it might just be loading. Do you want to try sharing it again and see maybe if it comes through? I just right now have a white screen.
Sure. That's what I got last time too. So let me try this. All right, sharing again. Round 2.
I am getting that same screen. If you did you try emailing it to me?
I did, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
A recommendation, if you want to restack, I can maybe disconnect and reconnect to the call on a different network. Maybe that would give it a
Perfect. Yeah, well, we will go ahead then, and we're gonna put you down lower at the bottom, but we're gonna go ahead and go over to Dr. Dave Sanborn. He is a graduate from the United States Merchant Marine Academy. Dr. Sanborn, the floor is yours.
Okay, Katie. Now here we go, and I'll be sharing here. But as Katie will vouch for me, I'm not the world's best technology expert. So here we go. Okay, can you see me okay, Katie?
We can see your presentation.
Okay, now I'm going to get even fancier here and bring up my presenter view. Now, you're still just seeing the slides?
Nope, we can see your notes as well now, sir.
Can you see all my commentary?
Yes.
Okay, well, I don't want that. Okay, let me go back again, and I'll change it back. Okay, so are you seeing my slides now?
Yes, we can just see the slide now.
Okay, good. Yeah, heaven forbid that you should see all my commentary. I wouldn't want that. Okay, well, thank you very much, Katie. I appreciate the time today, and I appreciate the time of all of the people that are participating. My name is Dr. David Sanborn. I graduated in 1973 from the Academy. And if you do the math, you'll realize that I'm celebrating my 50th anniversary this year. We have a reunion in September, and that's going to be quite an event for all of us old guys that have been around for a while. The United States Merchant Marine Academy is located in Kings Point, New York, on the north shore of Long Island Sound. The Academy was established in 1942 by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and it's the only federal academy that flies the battle standard. In World War II, we lost 142 cadets in active duty, and so that allows us to fly the battle standard, which is in commemoration of the cadets that lost their lives. In 1974, we were the first federal academy to enroll female students. The maritime industry, you've seen the trucks that haul cargo around on the roads, and if you've had a chance to visit ports throughout the United States, you will have seen the ships that move cargo around. Those ships are moving both commercial cargo and military cargo on behalf of the U.S. military to various theaters where there may be operations of different sorts. The average graduating class from the academy is 250 students, and we currently have an average of 20% female students at the academy, with a very active process to try and improve on those numbers. The academy has a 4-year curriculum. You can see here the various majors The primary majors are in marine engineering and marine transportation, with offshoots into a number of other areas. During that 4-year curriculum at the academy, 1 year is spent at sea. We call that the sea year, oddly enough. And you spend that time sailing on merchant vessels, doing various and sundry training alongside of the crew on the ships. The academic year for the academy stretches from July through June, and it's a long year and a very strenuous academic calendar because of that 1 year out of 4 that's spent at sea. You're still fulfilling all of the requirements for Bachelor of Science degrees, etc. The sea year is a very exciting time where you'll spend a full year, 300 days at sea. And as I mentioned before, on those merchant ships, you'll visit an average of 15 to 18 countries during your sea year, and you'll have a sea project that you'll have to complete, which is an academic requirement that is comprised of navigation, engineering, and cargo operations. There are a number of career opportunities after you graduate, which enable you to do a lot of different things with your future. You can go on to vessels, merchant vessels, as a ship's officer, either as an engineer or in that marine transportation, or as a mate on board a vessel. You can work ashore in maritime and intermodal transportation fields, which can include naval architecture and naval law, things like that. And then you have a choice of being able to go active duty upon graduation in any branch of the armed forces. That active duty also includes the opportunity to go into NOAA, the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Administration, which, if you're interested in oceanography and environmental activities, that's an opportunity that gives you a chance to get into those kinds of career paths. You have that, as you see there, the active duty officer in any branch of the armed forces. The U.S. Merchant Marine Academy is the only academy that gives you the choice upon graduation that if you want to go active duty, you can decide which branch of the armed forces you can go into. It's the only academy that allows that. So if you want to go into the Navy and eventually go into Navy Air, you can choose to go active duty in the Navy, the Air Force, and any of the other armed forces. The commitment is quite significant. You start off coming out of the academy, you have to maintain employment in the maritime industry for 5 years. You have to maintain a U.S. Coast Guard license for 6 years, and you'll serve in the U.S. Naval Reserve for 8 years. You have to do all 3 of those things to fulfill the terms of your commitment upon graduation. And as I mentioned before, you can also decide to go active duty in any one of the armed forces for 5 years, or into the NOAA Corps, which is a rather interesting direction to take. Since the best way for you to approach going to the academy, and I just want to point out to keep in mind that the nomination process with Senator Tillis is very important, very critical, and it's an honorable, a very high honor to attain that nomination. Just keep in mind that that's just one step. You also have to get accepted at the academy. So as was pointed out before, the admission process, it's important that you set up that admission at the academy, as well as fulfill the requirements that Senator Tillis has for getting the nomination. You need to make sure that you are working both of those activities hand in hand. It's important. If you do one without the other, you won't succeed. So the best way to answer your questions is to set up your personal account with the Academy, and to do that, you would go to the website that is shown on the bottom of this page, and then once you go in there, you can go to the admissions drop down, and that's where you'll see all of the requirements that you have for the process of applying at the Academy. I would encourage you that if you have additional information or you have additional questions, contact me. Write down my my email address, and don't be hesitant to reach out and let us know if you have any further questions. Most of the requirements, and you'll see, you've already seen some of the academic requirements or what have you, they're very similar from one academy to the other. And if you go to the website, the USMMA website, you can get into the details. I mean, the .MIRB requirements are the same. Most of the academic requirements are the same. And you want to really work hard on your resume. By that, I mean all those activities, and Lieutenant White was kind enough to list a lot of those things, but things like scouts, sports, leadership activities, and working outside of the school. The Academy, the Merchant Marine Academy, wants to see that you are a very well-rounded person, that you've done the academics, as important as they are one very, very critical aspect to what you are trying to accomplish. But you also want to show that you're a well-rounded person, that you've done other things other than just studying and getting the grades that you need to get. We want to see that you are a leader in other fields. So thank you very much today, Katie. I appreciate the time. And again, if there are any questions, I'll be available for that later on.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Lieutenant McAllister said that he thinks he is up and running. So we are going to turn it over to him and see if we can get his materials loaded this time.
And third time's the charm. I know we got it. All right.
We've got you up and running.
Fantastic. Well, thanks again, Katie. And once again, thank you to Senator Tillis for the opportunity to speak today. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Lieutenant Matthew McAllister. I am the Mid-Atlantic Regional Admissions Officer at the United States Coast Guard Academy. Today, I'm going to talk a little bit about the similarities between the Coast Guard Academy and the other service academies. But what I really want to focus on are the things that are different about the Coast Guard Academy, things that make us unique, because as you'll see, the Coast Guard Academy, in my opinion, is the most unique of the service academies. So a little bit about myself, a quick introduction. I graduated from the Academy in 2017. I studied mechanical engineering while I was there. I also was a lacrosse player and the captain of the wrestling team my senior year. Being back in admissions, I am thankful for the opportunity to also be helping out as an assistant wrestling coach. So a few images that you have on the screen before you, what I like to key in on here is the top center image. That's actually me in the driver's seat of our capstone project. Every major goes through a capstone project. Ours was to design, build, test, and race that dune buggy that you see before you, all in-house at the Academy, within about a 10-month time frame. It was really good, really strong, really fast, but turning was a bit of a sketchy part of it. So we did race against the Western New England team and beat them in the drag race, but they kind of smoked us in everything else. Had a blast doing it. Graduated from the Academy in 2017. My first assignment was as the operations officer as a 154-foot patrol boat down in San Juan, Puerto Rico. Our major mission when I moved in 2017 was hurricane aid and disaster relief following storms Irma and Maria that came through and devastated the island. So as we'll talk about, the United States Coast Guard is a humanitarian service, and that was one of the biggest, most humbling missions that I could have done while I was down in San Juan. Had a blast while I was there as well. Finished up that tour in 2019 and went over to San Diego, California, where I took over as a officer in charge of a small law enforcement detachment, or a leadette, at the Coast Guard's tactical law enforcement teams. There, I led a team of 12 specialized individuals that deployed all over the world with the Navy, with the Dutch, the British, the Canadians. I've been to Africa and Aruba and Alaska, and that's just the A's. We'd be here all day if I went through the whole alphabet. But mostly conducting counter-narcotics operations. Over the last 3 years, the team and we seized over 13 tons of cocaine off the water, valued at over $500 million. And that's within my first 5 years in the Coast Guard, and I'm still trucking along, much like the other 85% of Academy graduates who choose to stay in past their 5-year service obligation. So we'll start large. We'll have a really 1,000-foot view. And as we go along, I'd like to kind of zoom in the aperture a little bit, starting off with the Coast Guard, then talking more about the Coast Guard Academy, and finally finishing up with a little bit about the Coast Guard Academy application. So as I mentioned, we're a humanitarian-focused institution, right? We are the smallest branch of the service with the exception of the Space Force. About 55,000 in the Coast Guard altogether. Just for the size reference, the NYPD has about 60,000. So we're a worldwide federal service, a branch of the military, and smaller than the NYPD. A lot of folks say that, that kind of sets us at a disadvantage. I would argue that it's one of our biggest strengths as a service, is our small size and our interpersonal connection because of that. We are in the Department of Homeland Security outside of the Department of Defense, which gives us some unique statutory authorities and missions that we'll talk about in a few slides. And here's a quick video. So a quick plug for Tackle It once again. If you've seen the Alto Subarco video with the guy banging on the submarine hatch, that was the unit that I just came from. I led those gentlemen on deployments. The slogan that we've kind of been going with is the Coast Guard does that. And I think if a lot of people really understood the missions and what the Coast Guard is actually doing on a day-to-day basis, I think a lot more folks would be giving us a look. But for now, we're going to zoom in the aperture a little bit and talk some about the academy. As I mentioned, small service, small academy, right? It's kind of an echo chamber of our service. We only have about 1,000 cadets at the academy at any given time, about 250 per class. We're proudly diverse. This slide is a little bit out of date from our class of 2026 metrics. We are sitting at about 44% female right now, 38% students of color, and about 80% of our Corps of Cadets is a varsity athlete. We are a STEM-focused institution, much like the other service academies. But again, we'll talk about our majors and how that plays into things in a few slides. This is my least favorite slide on the presentation. I think this is all things that you can Google or find on the internet. One of the things that I try to key in on here in this slide is the 7-to-1 student to faculty ratio. So as a small school, as a small service, again, we really have that family feel, that family atmosphere. For me, that 7-to-1 student faculty ratio looked like, my junior year when my grades started to slip because the academics got turned up a little bit. I had folks from all the different communities at the Coast Guard Academy, my academic instructors, my coaches, my company officers, my upperclassmen, all these different entities came to me and said, hey, Matt, we noticed your grades are starting to slip a little bit. What can we do? What resources can we provide to help you make it through? We're very proud of our retention rate. We're sitting at about 95% retention rate and a 93% graduation rate, which just goes to show that we do all of our vetting during the admissions process. And the folks that do make it through that process, we are truly, truly invested in their success. So on the left-hand side, you'll see our 9 academic majors. On the right, you'll see our 11 statutory missions broken up into 3 categories: maritime safety, security, and stewardship. So you'll notice the Coast Guard is a maritime service. We are out there doing the mission every single day. And really the point of this slide is to demonstrate to you that the opportunities that exist for careers in the Coast Guard. Your major, what you study at the academy, doesn't necessarily dictate your career path. And a career in the Coast Guard is much like a choose your own adventure book, right? For example, I graduated, went down to San Juan, Puerto Rico, and then was off to San Diego doing a completely different mission set. That's by my own choice. I have curated my career that way. And there are career opportunities to make your career as specific to your major or as diverse as you can make it. And there are professional counselors in the Coast Guard that will help you build that career path. So it's not just academics at the academy. Very similarly to the other service academies, we do have a very robust academic curriculum, right? We are looking for folks who are academically capable of keeping up with the pace and the material. But we also have a professional and leadership development curriculum that runs concurrently to the academic curriculum. One of our biggest resources you'll see in the bottom center there is the Coast Guard Cutter Eagle. It is America's tall ship, and at some point in your Coast Guard cadet career, you will sail aboard the Eagle. It's a phenomenal opportunity. Just speaking from my own experience, I picked it up in Miami, Florida, sailed it up the entire East Coast to Newfoundland and Nova Scotia, first time in Canada, and then back down to New London, Connecticut, where she's home ported. So phenomenal opportunity, and we've got a quick video to show you a little bit more about that unique experience. I've seen that video probably 1,000 times, and every time I see a new familiar face, somebody I went to school with or played sports with or who have worked with in my career, I just noticed a new face that I know in that video as well. So let's talk a little bit about the clubs, teams, and recreation of the Academy. We are a NCAA Division III school across the board, with the exception of our sailing program, which is Division I. And it's a top tier sailing program. Actually, one of my classmates went on to sail in the 2024 Olympics out in Japan. So phenomenal athletic programs. Anybody who tells you that Division III athletics are a notch below Division I, I'll tell you, you are competing at the highest level regardless of where you go. So if you are a serious athlete, I would highly encourage you to check out the Coast Guard Academy's athletic programs. And it's more than just academics and work, right? Your 200-week experience is going to be filled with all kinds of opportunities for personal growth. The Academy has an affinity council or group, a club, whether it's, the Compañeros Hispanic Affinity Council or, the Environmental Care Club or anything in between, right? Cadets are active people, and we want to foster those interests of yours and build it into your Academy experience. Another thing unique about the Coast Guard Academy is the location, right? We're located in New London, Connecticut, which is a pretty central New England location. We're about a 2-hour train ride away from New York City or Boston. Super accessible. You've got a few airports, Hartford, Providence, and New Haven, all within 1 hour striking distance of the Academy. And I encourage you all, I know it's a bit of a hike from North Carolina, but if you're able to, I would highly, highly encourage you all to come up on board and see the campus for yourself. I can tell you my own opinion of it, but it's really important that you formulate your own and see the campus for yourself. So our application, right? much like the other services, built on a three-pillar stool, or a three-legged stool rather, academics, leadership, and athletics. If you don't have one of those legs, the stool can't stand up on its own. So we really are looking for well-rounded people. We are a test optional school, so you do not have to submit your standardized test scores. One thing I will note is the averages from the class of 2026. We had a 680 in math and a 660 in reading and writing, which equates to about a 28 to 30 on the ACTs. And again, there is no negative mark for not submitting your scores. We do employ a holistic review process. So you're not going to be, non-competitive if you do not submit your scores, and that's important to keep in mind. Much like the other services, we want to see your resume, and it shows sustained and impactful positions of leadership in whatever community you find yourself to be a part of, whether that's your school community, extracurricular, community service and volunteerism. We want to see all of it and your demonstrated diverse interests. Here's our timeline. We just stepped out of the application cycle for the class of 2027. The class of 2028 application will open July 15th. I encourage everybody to get online, create a Bears Den account if you go to our website at uscga.edu and just do a quick search for a Bears Den. That is our portal link to our applicants, and it's going to have a ton more information for you. Another few things that differentiate between us and the other service academies: we do not require a congressional nomination, right? We are one of the only federal service academies not to require that. We feel that our application is wholly merit-based, and it's competitive enough as it is. Another difference between us and the other service academies is we do have our own PFE, or physical fitness evaluation. Those standards are available online. You can just Google Coast Guard Academy PFE, and that will show you our three-pronged athletics test. And those scores will be submitted along with your application as well. Lastly, I did want to make a quick plug for our AIM program, or our Academy Introductory Mission. Much like the other services, it's our summer seminar, and let me be frank with you, it is not Camp Coast Guard, right? We just closed out our application for this summer. This takes place between the summer of your junior and senior year, so sophomores and below out there, be looking for next cycle to apply for this. It is not a requirement nor a guarantee of receiving appointment, but it is important to note that about 40 to 50% of each class has attended this program. So it is a tremendous opportunity for you to experience the academy life, experience 1 week of your SWAB summer training, and really learn more about the Coast Guard Academy. And what can you do? What can you walk away from this presentation with? First and foremost, reach out to your regional admissions officer. That's me. I'd be happy to connect with everybody on the back end and answer questions in the chat. If you think of anything, feel free to shoot it off in the chat and I'll be sure to answer it. Another thing, as I mentioned, get up to the campus. Look at our campus programs and any opportunities to learn more. We do have a number of cadet shadowing programs between our Cadet for a Day overnight program, our Bears Day, our Genesis Invitational for students of color and underserved communities, first-time college students, first-generation college students, rather. So we try to make these opportunities as available to you as possible, and we hope you take advantage. And with that, here's my contact information. Again, thank you so much for your time and attention on a Saturday. I really do appreciate it, and I hope to hear from you all soon.
Thank you so much. I always love hearing you talk about your experience on the Eagle. I grew up in Wilmington and remember it coming into port a few times growing up. So always an amazing thing to hear about. Perfect. So next we are going to hear from Major Grooms. And I believe he actually has a current cadet with him as well. And they are from the United States Military Academy at West Point. So I'm going to turn it on over to y'all.
Well, Katie, thanks for having us. We appreciate you guys inviting us. So my name is Major Miles Grooms, West Point class of 2009. So I'm the West Point admissions officer for the greater Charlotte area. I've got a combined 14 years of total service. So I've had the opportunity to lead teams of all shapes and sizes during my time in the military. I've lived in some pretty cool places, right? I've been stationed in Hawaii, Colorado, the Pentagon, and DC. I also have combat deployments to both Iraq and Afghanistan. So I'm out of Charlotte, right? But I assist candidates throughout the entire state of North Carolina. I also sit on a couple nomination boards at the end of the year. So NCO 8, which previously NCO 9 with Dan Bishop. NC 14, we're standing up the nomination boards for them this year, so I'll be sitting on that. And then occasionally I'm on District 12's board as well. If you don't know your local admissions officer, whether it's for West Point or someone else, like make sure you find out who it is. If I'm your person in Charlotte, reach out to me. If you don't know who your person is for West Point, I know who they are. I'm happy to put you in contact with them. Our job, like my peers on the call, we're here to shepherd you throughout the application process and guide you, hopefully in the right direction. So I'm not going to go through our application process. I think what's being presented by the other academies is pretty standard across the board. I encourage you to reach out to me, check out our website. I mean, we've got a ton of information out there. Instead, I think it's more important to hear from an actual cadet that went through the process and can provide a current perspective of life at the academy today. So Cadet Chris White, he's from Myers Park High School in Charlotte, and he's someone I've had the opportunity to work with closely over the years. You know, he's a great representation of West Point and the Charlotte area community. So I'm going to let Chris talk. Again, reach out to us. I know there's going to be some questions, and we'll be happy to answer those. So Chris, I'll turn it over to you.
Sir, thank you. So yeah, like Major Groom says, or said, I was fortunate enough to go through this application process twice. Senior year of high school, I had back surgery and couldn't get the medical waiver to come to West Point straight out of high school. So I did a year of college, did ROTC, and then eventually got to come to West Point after that first year. And I remember sitting on that nomination interview with Major Grooms, and I told him that I knew I wasn't going to be the most qualified applicant, and he knew that. I think the first time we talked, I told him I wanted to branch sniper. Like, I had no idea what I was saying, but he saw that I cared and that I wanted to get better, and that I wanted to be surrounded by other people that wanted the same thing. And since I've been here, that's exactly what I've gotten. I mean, the quality of people coming through the academy, wanting to grow, wanting to get better, it's unparalleled. What I've really learned over these past couple of years is, like, we get out of these walls what we put into them. I know West Point has a great reputation. All the service academies have great reputations. That's fine. But some people come here and expect to ride that wave and just kind of scoot by and think West Point's going to prepare me for life, for the Army. And I just kind of have to go through the motions. And that's not true. West Point gives you the tools to become the best person that you can possibly be. But you have to take advantage of those opportunities and max them each and every day. And that's probably the coolest part about this place is you can personalize your own experience. I have a friend, Sam Hosback, super into infantry, military, like since day one, he's been all in. He's a defense and strategic studies major. He's on the combat weapons team. He does black and gold Sandhurst military skills competitions. That's his West Point experience, and he's all in getting better down that path. I have another friend who is on the parachute team. He jumps out of helicopters every day. He's a math major, and he does research on free fall and parachutes, and like that's his West Point experience, and he goes all in there. Me, I'm doing mechanical engineering. I'm on the strength and conditioning team, so I'm learning about how to train athletes, train myself, eventually train soldiers. I'm getting to do the combat dive qualification course down in Key West this summer, and that's me shaping my own West Point experience. All of that to say, you're making yourself better day in, day out, but you're becoming the best asset possible for the country. You are an investment by the taxpayers, by the leaders of this institution, and you are paying that back, earning that each and every day to eventually graduate ready, prepared, ready to lead and give back. So yeah, super, super excited that all of y'all get to start that journey. And if it isn't the academy, if it's not West Point, if it's not Air Force or wherever, I didn't get in the first time. And if I didn't get in at all, there are great opportunities with ROTC and other routes to earn your commission if that's your plan. But stick true to you, work hard, keep at it. And if you have any questions, like Major Groom says, please reach out. We'd love to help. So.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Chris. So I just want to add a couple more things here too. So, the first time I did meet Chris, I did a one-on-one interview with him. And like Chris said, I was like, all right, you got some preparation to do. And then I met him again during the nomination board for West Point for then District 9 for Dan Bishop. And he killed it. I mean, I saw a different side of this kid that, I wasn't expecting. He was our primary nominee that year, right? And I told Chris, later, but he was the top guy. He killed it, right? And unfortunately, even though he was in great shape, he had proven himself to be a great athlete with high school sports. He did have a back issue, and the Department of Defense Medical Evaluation Review Board, I mean, they flagged him for that, unfortunately. And, Chris, instead of giving up, went to VMI, did a year of that, proved to the Department of Defense Medical Evaluation Review Board and West Point that he was capable of handling the physical demands of the academy. And he reapplied again the next year for West Point. And he was a phenom again. He crushed it, right? I mean, he was still the best candidate out of Charlotte those 2 years. So I'm happy we have folks like Chris who do reapply, because not everybody gets in the first time. And it's important to hear folks like Chris and their stories, right? To give you some sort of hope and motivation if you might be on the border of getting in or not. So again, reach out to us. We'll answer some of the questions in the chat. But thanks for again having us today. Appreciate it.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And that was fabulous to hear Cadet White's story. We do have a lot of students who come through a second time. And as I mentioned earlier, we've got representatives from the National Guard and an ROTC branch. So there are so many opportunities for service and ways to get into the academies or serve your country in other ways. So just so grateful to hear that. So for our final academy of the day, we've got the United States Naval Academy. And we've got Commander Sean Neely, who's retired from the U.S. Navy. So I'm going to pass it over to you.
Thank you so much, Katie. Going near last is maybe it's a blessing, because I think a lot of things have really been covered, and I know I'm a little bit biased towards the Naval Academy, obviously, but any of the service academies and any service that you do is a huge commitment, and I think it says a lot about the individual for you to choose to serve your country. So anyone that you pick, I think it's a great choice, because we all have very similar experiences through this. Just a quick little bit about myself. I'm a 1996 graduate of the Naval Academy. I am an aerospace engineer, astronautics grad, which again, as you saw from a lot of the other service academies, the resources at a service academy are quite substantial. Some of the ROTC as well. My daughter goes to NC State, so I'm quite appreciative of that. But there is really, and we'll go through the slide deck, but it's just a different experience that you're going to go through. As far as my relationship to the Naval Academy, still, I'm a Deputy Area Coordinator for the Raleigh area, which means I'm also a Blue and Gold officer. So as you start the process for application, you will be assigned a Blue and Gold officer. And we will be there to make sure you reach out to us, and we can help guide you along the way to getting your application complete and getting your interviews done. I did retire after 23 years, 5 active, 18 in the reserves. I initially service selected aviation. Did not get through the aviation program due to medical reasons, but I went on to serve as a aerospace engineer, basically aircraft maintenance officer within Navy aviation for 5 years. Some of the cool places that we've gone, which I think that's where a lot of folks want to hear on here, is what have we done? It's been a really cool career. I served in Hawaii as well, Florida, Maryland, Ohio, deployed to Japan, Diego Garcia, the Middle East, did 1 tour in Afghanistan, basically doing CSI for bullet holes on aircraft as they got shot, which is a joint mission. Which again, if you choose to serve, most likely you will be joint, and you'll be working with all these great people that you see on the call today. So let me go ahead and share a couple things. Naval Academy provided me with a video, which I think is pretty cool. It's a little longer than some of the others, about 4 minutes long. So if you'll bear with us, I think it might answer some of the other questions that you have. So let me make sure this works, and let me know if the volume and everything is not operating properly. All right. So let me switch over to our presentation that we have, which can probably go through fairly quickly, and did not share. There we go. And hopefully we're back sharing screen. Okay, look good. All right. Okay, let me run through this. Again, a lot of these things are very similar to the other service academies, ROTC, anything else you do as far as the application process. I don't think I have to go through a lot of this because the video showed really did a nice job of showing the campus and the surrounding areas. So really, this is actually a really good point because as a high school junior and senior, I'm looking at this going not about 4 years or the 9 years you have to serve, but the next 40. And well, now I'm on year 30 after this, and it's very true. The relationships that you make, what you learn at a service academy or becoming a midshipman anywhere and becoming a military officer sticks with you your entire life, basically. And I think Lieutenant White had kind of said it, and so did the major and our cadet. Is really you're learning to follow. You're learning to be a part of a team. You're getting a great education, and with all of that, you learn to be a leader. And it really does follow you the rest of your life of how to lead, how to be on a team through stressful situations. And there's not really a better place that you can that really builds resiliency like a service academy. So you can see this. You can look this up online too. Here's our rates. A lot of majors available, probably overlap from the other schools. Like I said, astronautical engineering is what I did. Great resources, marine engineering, ocean engineering, whatever you do. We're actually with astronautical engineering. We partnered with NASA. We had two astronauts on staff while I was there, and including a ground station. And our projects, we actually work with NASA up at Goddard Space Flight Center. So most of the majors, you're gonna have something like that. Cyber operations, we actually have a new facility for cyber ops, first one of its kind in the country, where we actually have classified areas within the facility. You can see core curriculum. It's in the slides. Let's take a look at that. One of the best things I liked about it was really, and most of the service academy you'll see is a small class size, 8 to 1. It really helps with learning and getting assistance. I see that now. Daughter goes to university, and sometimes trying to get an appearance with a professor or even a TA can sometimes prove difficult. Daily schedule is going to teach you routine the rest of your life. You get used to it. Yeah, it's a lot. You're always going. It's rigorous, but it's that way for a reason. A lot of varsity sports, club sports as well. I called myself an out-of-season varsity athlete. I think I was on 3 or 4 different varsity athletics, but never actually got into a varsity letter. But it doesn't matter. I met a lot of good friends, and basically a physical lifestyle will basically stay with you the rest of your life. So this teaches you that. But there is a lot to do. And if you don't do club sports, you intramurals. Love the intramurals. You get to hang out with your classmates, get to play some sports in the afternoon, have some fun. Also, a lot of extracurricular activities. You can read the list here. Cultural, music, service. This only continues to grow since I was there 30 years ago. A lot of different things to do in your free time. I did tutoring. I did midshipman action group. Extracurricular, Society of Engineers, Society of Military Engineers. You can read through here. It's really cool stuff. International, I think like most schools now, we have a lot of international folks within the brigade, but there's also a lot of opportunities while you're here to go international and do programs. Pay and benefits, I think it's going to be pretty similar. It is a full scholarship. I think most people know that, but some people don't coming in. What you also need to know about the academy, you don't, like most schools, you just don't get the summer off. You typically get about 4 weeks vacation, but you're out there training. You are a member of the military service, and through the summers, you're going to go through fleet crews and leadership development. Graduation, everyone graduates with a Bachelor of Science, regardless if you're which major that you have, due to the rigorous kind of naval leadership and naval service type and engineering that you're going to go through while you're 5-year service commitment, I think, except for aviation, which will be a little bit longer. And they've added some very motivating pictures of the you're going to be a line officer coming out of the Naval Academy, unless you have some sort of medical waiver, which is kind of what happened to me. So these are basically what you're going to pick: surface, submarine, aviation, special warfare, or the Marine Corps. All great choices. This is just a quick service assignment for class of 2022, where everybody went. See on there's a wide spread. So it's service assignment. You'll interview, and you'll be picked up by the service after this whole process. So those of you that might not be rising high school seniors, we do have a STEM, the science, technology, engineering, math, for 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students, rising 9th, 10th, and 11th grade students. Started this program. She really enjoyed it. It was really a nice look into what some of the programs are at Navy. And then, of course, I think that most of the service guys have this as well. Summer seminar applications are closed already for this upcoming year. But if you're a rising junior, keep this in mind for next year. This is a great program to get you understanding. If you're kind of on the fence, great program to go to see what the experience is going to be like at Navy. So get on the website, start your applications. Probably similar to most of the others. You can see what's on here. It's quite rigorous. It takes some time. You do have a blue and gold officer that can help you kind of answering questions as you go through. Physical qualification, the CFA, make sure you look that up. If you're going to do it, practice, practice, practice. It's not super easy when you push all these things in at the same time. Medical, I think someone already talked about DODMER. That's going to be the same for any of the military academies. And again, this was covered nominations. Make sure you look at all your nomination sources. Some people forget there's also a presidential nomination if your parent was a 20-year or currently in service. Here's the site you're looking at. Get started now if you're a junior, and remember this if you're not quite yet a junior. I don't know why there's so much animation. This is how it works. Again, preparatory school, this was covered as well. If you were chosen for a preparatory school, it means that the Naval Academy sees a lot in you and really wants you to have a little bit more preparation. No separate application. Advice, strong in STEM, not a minimum GPA. Make sure you're working really hard, you're doing well. Take the SAT, the ACT. As most people have probably told you, AP honors. And it's about well-rounded. It's a full candidate, multiple. We want to make sure you're doing a lot of things. It's not just about schoolwork, but we want to make sure that you're a well-rounded individual. More information, if you want to follow us, a lot of way to follow USNA online. I think that's all I had.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. All right, so we've got a couple more presenters, and then as I mentioned earlier, if you've got questions, put them in the chat box. I have been writing them down, and after we're done with all of the presenters, I will go through them with everybody. So our next presenter is going to be Captain Jacqueline Kahn, and she is with the North Carolina National Guard, and she's going to discuss some of their opportunities for folks coming out of high school as well. So passing it over to you.
I'll present. If I can figure it out now, hold on. Can y'all see it?
It is on the screen.
Awesome. All right, so again, I'm Captain Jacqueline Kahn. I've been in the North Carolina National Guard, or I would say the National Guard as a whole, for 23 years. When I joined, I was an enlisted soldier. I commissioned 13 years after that. I've deployed once to Afghanistan. I joined the Florida National Guard, and after 6 years, I moved over to North Carolina. The great thing about the National Guard is you stay in the state that you enlist in. You can do interstate transfers. So if you're in college in North Carolina, but you get a job offer in Texas, then you can get transferred to Texas. So that's the great thing about the National Guard, is that they don't move you around the world, essentially. That's my cell phone number. It's my work cell, so you can call me or text me whenever. I have it on me always, and I'm pretty good with responding and answering or calling back if I'm busy at the time. So the National Guard is a reserve component of the U.S. Army. We have two missions. We have a federal mission, meaning the President of the United States can put us on a federal mission to go to Afghanistan, Kuwait, many places right now. And we have a state mission, meaning that we also work for the governor of North Carolina. So if there's a natural disaster, hurricanes, flooding, stuff like that, we go take care of that as well. So we're busy in the summer, usually for hurricanes, and in the winter we get some ice and snow, and we're not the best drivers, so we normally get called out for that as well. We have in the past gone to other states to provide support. It's not common, but when they need our help, we are there to help as well. We also got called up for COVID-19. We had people on orders for about 2 years helping with the COVID-19 mission. All right, so traditional requirements for a National Guardsman is 1 weekend a month. Sometimes those weekends are 2 days, a Saturday and Sunday, and sometimes they're 3 days, a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then the annual training is 2 full weeks a year. Sometimes it's 3 weeks, but most of the time it is 2 weeks. And when you're in the ROTC program, your commanders are very understanding and knowing that you're not going to go to do that with the company. You're more than likely going to go do that with the ROTC. But I'm sure the presenter after me is going to provide a lot more information about the ROTC program, so I'm not going to go too deep into that. I talked about this already. This is what a lot of people in the National Guard love about the National Guard. When I was in the Florida Guard, we obviously had a lot of hurricanes, and they were always great missions, helping people, clearing roads. When I was enlisted, I was a dental assistant. So we actually set up a clinic and helped people with medical and dental emergencies. And it was fulfilling. It helped keep you motivated to stay outside and get things done with everybody else. All right, educational benefits when you join. Federal tuition assistance is up to $4,000 per year, a maximum of 16 semester hours per year. You can use that with state tuition assistance. That's 100% tuition or 60% tuition and fees, whichever is greater. It's $4,400 per year at private colleges. So the 100% is for a state college, and the 4,400 is private colleges. So Montgomery GI Bill is $439 per month for a full-time student. That's an addition. That just helps cover expenses. This is the S&P program, and I'm sure the presenter after me will go over this, but you're in college. I know the person ahead of me said that his daughter was at NC State. NC State definitely has an ROTC program. Most big colleges do, and some of the smaller colleges, they have the program too, but they're based out of the bigger college next to them. So it's part of the Army National Guard. You're going to be part of the National Guard and the ROTC program at the same time. And when you join this program, you are in the National Guard, but while you're going through school, you can still compete for active duty slots. A lot of the bigger colleges, UNC, NC State, Duke, most of their ROTC cadets go active duty. Very few of them do not get picked up for active duty, or just they don't want to go National Guard. So with the S&P, you get a monthly stipend. You get your GI Bill kicker. You will not be mobilized while you're in the ROTC program. And there's scholarship opportunities involved with this as well. The Minuteman Scholarship is a great scholarship. You can get it as a 2-year scholarship or a 4-year scholarship. It's for National Guard soldiers only. It covers 100% tuition and fees or $5,000 semester room and board. And the reason why they do that is some of the cadets, they already have a full tuition, so you're able to use the $5,000 for semester or for room and board, etc. So you also get a book stipend to cover the book cost, and it can also be used with NC TAP. So that's in the colleges only in North Carolina. But when you take the Minuteman Scholarship, you cannot compete for active duty. You have to commission in the Army National Guard. It does not have to be the North Carolina National Guard, but it has to be a National Guard. So this is our information. So I'm the basic branch recruiter. I'm an AG officer, adjutant general, so I'm a human resource officer. And I'm the recruiter for AG, ordnance, logistics, transportation, aviation, cyber, signal, and the specialty branch recruiter. She is a recruiter for all AMEDs. So there's 70 Bravo AOC, and that's kind of like mine, but that branch does more medical human resource type work, and then she does PAs and doctors and dentists. And that's all I have. I would say one thing, I've been in for a long time, and I do wish that I knew about this program when I joined, because I was, struggling, working full time, doing the National Guard half of the time, and going to school full time. So this is a great opportunity to join the Guard, go through ROTC, and then when you're done with college, be able to commission the same day you graduate. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If anybody's got any questions, please put them in the chat box. So our last presenter today, before we get to our questions, is going to be Richard Hudson with the ROTC program. And again, I know that we've only had one branch of ROTC, but there are multiple branches, and I'm sure he'll touch on that. But another great opportunity for you high school. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over.
Can you see my slides, Katie?
No, I just see you.
Hang on.
But I do have them. If you can't get yours up, I'm happy to pop them on.
It's loading. It says connecting. Do they show now?
They do not.
Hmm.
Do you want me to go ahead and put them on? You can just tell me when to go to the next slide.
If you want to, yes, you can do that.
Perfect. Share. All right, can you see it?
Yes, I can.
Perfect.
So my name is Richard Hudson. I work Army ROTC recruiting. If you have a question about Army ROTC, I'm the person to talk to. I can either answer your questions or I can get you somebody who can answer your questions. That's my contact information. I know something about the ROTC for Navy, Air Force, Marine PLC, and stuff like that. But if you want to talk about that, I will find you an expert who can answer those questions rather than me, because my information might be old for their areas. But basically, if you're competitive and if you're interested in serving America, I highly encourage you not just to apply to Academy, but look at the ROTC programs in that branch also, and figure out for yourself which one is best for you. Slide. So ROTC, it's nationwide. Army side has over 900 colleges. Navy and Air Force has slightly fewer colleges. It is an elective that you take while you're in college, while you're pursuing a degree. It is, of course, the studies that you participate, that you work with, ultimately ending up with a commission. As was brought out by the National Guard representative, you can do Army National Guard or Army Reserve while you're doing the ROTC program. They're both compatible. That's not an issue. Slide. So ROTC, what it is not, it's not a competitor to the military academies. It's just another way for somebody to become an officer in one of those armed services. It's not a college major in most cases. Very few have a military science major, but there's some that do. It's not an extension from junior ROTC. Whether you did junior ROTC in high school or not, it has no impact on your ability to do senior ROTC in the colleges. And it's not just for people interested in service and reserves. Go to the next slide. ROTC on the Army side produces more officers and more general officers than any other place out of the United States Army. Roughly 2/3 of all the general officers come out of Army ROTC. The other third come one of the academies or someplace else. What makes ROTC very different than the academies is that all the academies start off on a 4-year program. Whether you come right out of freshman or whether you come in after you've been out of high school for a couple of years because you might not got in the first time around, it's a 4-year program that you're going to have. The Army ROTC, we have people that come in as freshmen and go through a 4-year process. We also have a lot of people who come in as a sophomore or junior because they didn't make a decision until slightly later in their life that, hey, I want to do this. We also have people that come back when they're 28, 29 years old, pursue a grad degree, and do ROTC. So there's a lot of different options for ROTC rather than just a straight out of high school. But we do have a process for young men and women like you that have this interest. Can I have a slide? So we have a process to apply for national scholarships for high school students, just like all the academies have. Our process starts the 12th of June, 2023, for students going to be entering college 2024. That's the address where you can go to start your scholarship. Strongly recommend that when you create your application that you write down your password. It's not uncommon for people to create their application and forget their password. So please write your password down so you can go back. First selection board's in October. That is a very, very competitive. Don't worry about trying to get ready for that first selection board. There's a board in January, another board in March. We look at the same elements that the academies look at. We look at scholastics. We use unweighted GPA is what we call it at the end of the junior year. That way everything converts to a 4.0 scale. We look at the SAT. We look at athletics. The participation in sports is important. Participation in other activities outside of the classroom is highly important. You're going to have to write a couple essays. You're going to have to do an interview, similar that you do for the academies, and you have to do an online survey. Please note, the interview is a one and done. The online survey is one and done. The selection board is one and done. Everything above that, you can continue to update as you go through this process. So they super score the SAT. One of the things I do is I review applications. The most common problem that I find with applications is people will provide their essays, and I'll read the essays very detailed, and then I'll look at the activities that they've listed, and very often they'll have anywhere from 2 to 12 activities talked about in the essays that's not listed in the activities section. So you creating, and this was brought out by somebody else, you making sure that your application is complete is vital to you getting selected for an Army ROTC scholarship. Similar stats to what you see on the other ones. There's anywhere from 9,000 to 12,000 applicants every year. Roughly half of those people that initially apply, they won't finish their application for whatever reason. Roughly 2,000 to 2,500 scholarships will be awarded through this national process. I mentioned earlier that you don't have to start off as a freshman. Once you get on campus, there will be opportunities to earn scholarships. So roughly another 2,000 plus scholarships will be awarded by the schools for the cadets or for the students that are in there that want to pursue Army ROTC. So we have more options for you to get into the officership process to become an officer than just the academies. But bottom line is, on the Army side, Army does not care how you got your commission, whether you get your commission via the academy or whether you get your commission through Army ROTC or you get a direct commission. Story, my brother's wife, immigrant from China, got her citizenship, got a degree from, I think it was Syracuse University in nutrition. She got a direct commission in the Army. She retired as an 06, and now she works for Veterans Affairs and SES 2. So how you get your commission is not important. It's what you do with it after you get there. That's all I have today. There's hidden slides in here that people can look at if they want to by looking at the, if they download this later so they can access it. Like I said up front, if you have any questions at all, please call me. That's my cell number or my email address. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. So I just wanted to go through a couple of the questions that I saw in the chat that I thought everybody would appreciate, and then give a couple last minute reminders. And We so appreciate everybody's time today. Again, this will be posted on the Senator's website, so you are welcome to go back and watch. And if you have friends or schoolmates who were interested but weren't able to join us, please encourage them to watch this online. So the first question I received was about our interview date. We are working with High Point University to solidify that. I will send a message to all open applications once we get that date's finalized. We do try to work around sports schedules and all that. So we'll get that out shortly. As far as final decisions for the senator's nomination, we typically get those out in early December. So you will know if you were selected for an interview within a couple of weeks of the application being due in October, and then those who are selected for an interview will hear a final decision by early December. We were also asked about the other members' processes. Our office doesn't have that information, but again, we encourage you to reach out to and try and utilize any available nomination sources. Of course, the senator does represent the entire state, so our applicant pool is going to be much larger than your congressman. Please look at their websites. If it's not online, go ahead and reach out to their offices, and they hopefully will be able to give you that information. Somebody asked about sports and activities at the academies. I know it was specific to Air Force Academy, but my understanding is a lot of that is going to be when you get on campus, you're going to kind of be told what is available to you. Also, feel free to reach out to the local officers to get more specific information. Another thing that we run into a lot is folks who are being recruited for varsity athletics. We don't know much about the process from the academy side, but even if you are a recruited athlete, you need a nomination. So if you're talking to a sports team, you're talking to a baseball team or anything like that, basketball, any of the varsity sports, please go ahead and submit your application for a nomination as well, because you still need that. Somebody just asked about if they should start their nomination as a sophomore or wait until you're a junior. You need to apply in the cycle that you're going to be applying for the academy. So you'll want to hold off until you're looking at applying for colleges.
Yeah, Katie, that's second semester junior or above.
Yep, thank you. So some final notes, just kind of reminders that we've already gone over, but don't put your application off to the last minute. And that goes for both your application for Senator Tillis's nomination and the application for the academy. It is a lot easier for us to help you if you ask us questions earlier in advance. Ensure that all of your materials are complete. Again, those letters of recommendation on the senator's end are the most common issues that we have with the applications. So please feel free to reach out to us and make sure that that your materials are indeed properly submitted and that everything looks good. Also, don't put off taking your test until the last minute. If we don't receive your scores in time, if you don't receive your scores in time, there's really nothing we can do about that. So go ahead and take those tests. The earlier the better. And if you take it again, we're happy to replace the scores with your highest scores. As Scott said, we do the super score. Applying to all your sources to improve your chances. And making sure that you also have applications open with the academy that you are interested in attending. We do have a separate process from them. So I think those are most of the things that we get asked about. And yeah, if please also be considering the National Guard and an ROTC program. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to Scott or myself. Our email, we can both be reached at academy-nominations_tillis@tillis.senate.gov. Or you're welcome to reach out directly to myself at Katie, KATIE_Kuba, KOU, B as in boy A, @tillis.senate.gov. And if you need to be connected with any of our panelists today, please let me know and I'd be more than happy to help facilitate that. So Scott, unless you have something else, I think that is the end of our program today. And we so appreciate everybody joining us.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. I hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. Bye-bye.